viewers to another episode in a series of episodes that are focused on extensive revision of the August 2023 Mathematics Paper 1. So if you haven't seen other episodes, please go to our YouTube channel and check for playlist that contains these extensive revision of each and every question from this paper. So questions are grouped in according to the paper and the topics. This is important for you, especially if you're struggling with a specific topic. You go to a specific topic, you find a series of questions from different papers as far as 2017. Let us look at question 21. Write 3 inequalities that define the unshaded region R in the diagram below. So the question requires us to write 3 inequalities that would describe the unshaded region R. So this is the region we are interested in, this region. So now we need to write these 3 inequalities. So the first thing that we need to know is when you are given the solid line, a solid line means it's not strictly greater or less, but there is an equality aspect. So it's either greater or equal to or less and equal to. So the first line here, this is a solid line that we know. Then what's the second line? So the second line in this case is this is also a solid line, then this is a dotted line. So for the dotted line is strictly, meaning there is no equality. So the answers are either above or below the line. Solid, it means the line itself is part of the solution. So what we do is we need first of all to identify either the horizontal or vertical line. So always there will be a question that will have horizontal and vertical line. So one of the two will come. So in this case we have this line. So this line is horizontal. So if the line is horizontal, the gradient is 0 from this standard equation. Y is equal to m times x plus c. This value is 0. So hence y is equal to c. So we need to identify this value of c. So the value of c is the value of y, such that no matter where we move from left to right, the value of y remains the same. So because it is remains the same and is passing through, the value of y here is 1, even here is 1, this is 0,1. So this line, the equation is y is equal to 1. But we're looking for the region above, not below. So for any value that is above 1 of y is correct. So hence the equation becomes y is equal to greater or equal to 1 because of it's a solid line. So this is the easiest thing. So we go to the answer space and write this answer. So y is greater or equal to 1. This is the first one. Then we move to the second one, so that should be 1 mark. Always the vertical horizontal case will be 1 mark. Then the next one is we can find this second solid, so we end up with the dotted line. So for the solid line, we have this line which is passing through 5,1 and 2,4. So I can say this is x1, this is y1, then this is x2, then this is y2. So to find any equation, we need to know the gradient if you know the points. So just need to know the gradient. So m, the gradient is given by change in y over change in x, which is the same as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what is y2? So y2 is a 4 in this case. So it will be 4 minus what is y1 is a 1 here over what is x2? So x2 is a 2 minus what is x1 is a 5. So we have 4 minus 1, which is 3, then 2 minus 3, 2 minus 5, which is negative 3. So this gives me negative 1. So m is negative 1. So once we know m, then you can substitute in this equation wherever there is m. So I can use this space. So it will be y is equal to minus 1 times x is minus x, then plus c. So now what we need to know is we need to know the sign that we need to put, because this equation just describes the line generally, but let us pick one point to find the value of c. So when we come here, you can pick this one or this one, the results will still remain the same. So let me pick this one. So we have y is equal to 1, so it will be 1 is equal to minus x. What is x? X is 5 in this case, so minus 5, then plus c. Then let me use this space. So we have, so I'm using this space now. We have 1 is equal to minus 5 plus c. So 1 plus 5 is equal to c. Then when this one equals to the equal sign, so 6 is equal to c. So 6 is the value of c. So we find the value of c of this line. So this equation now becomes y is equal to minus x plus 6. That's what the equation becomes. But what we are looking for, we are looking for the region. So the region we're interested in is a region below this line, which is down here. So the easiest way to answer this question is to pick this 0, 0, because 0, 0 is below the equation, and substitute there. So we use y again. Now in this case we use a box, so minus x plus 6. So now the value of x and y here at the origin is 0, 0. So if I substitute for y, so I'm going to have 0, then the box, then negative 0 is 0, so we have 0 plus 6. So which one is bigger here? You know that 0 is less than 6. So the less than is the symbol that we put there. So hence now this equation becomes an inequality by introducing the correcting sign there. So y is less than negative x plus 6. So we come here and write this one. Y is less than negative x plus 6, but that's not true, because this is a solid line. So we need to introduce the equal sign, so it becomes less or equal to. So like this, once you do that, you are good to go. So you notice the difference when you find the one for the dotted line. So for the dotted line, it's strictly the line is not part of the solution, so it will either be less or greater strictly. That's what it will be. So we've done 2. We need to find the third one, which is this one. So again, we are going to use the same process. So we need to pick 2 points. So we have this line is passing through the origin, so we have 0, 0 as x1, then y1, then this becomes again x2, y2, the same one. So I'll go to the page. So m is equal to, so the first thing we need to find the gradient in this equation. So if you know the gradient, which is m, then you can find c. Once you find c, then we are good to go. So we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we know what is y2. So y2 is a 4, then this is a 0, then 2, then this is a 0. So this is straightforward. So it will be 4 minus 0 over 2 minus 0. And the line is upward sloping, so it's a positive. So we are going to have 4 minus 0 is 4, divided by 2 minus 0, which is 2. So we are going to have a 2. So 2 is the value of m. So now we know the value of m. So we can substitute y is equal to 2x plus c. So now what we need to do is to find the value of c. So what we need to do is to pick one coordinate. So we have 0, 0 and 2, 4. So whichever you pick, you still end up with the same results. But to spare your precious time in an exam, you go with where there are zeros, because it's much more easier to deal with. So whatever there is now, y, I put a 0. So we are substituting. What are we substituting? We are substituting with this one. So it will be 0 equals 2 times 0, because the value of x here is 0, the value of y is 0 here, then plus c. So 0 is equal to 0 plus c. So this tells me that 0 is equal to c. So c is equal to 0. Then this equation now, because whenever they see we put a 0, drops to y is equal to 2x. This is the equation. But when you go to the diagram, this line is unshaded. So we are interested in the region below this line, not above. And the line itself is not part of the solution. So again, what you do, you pick any point below this line. So I can come here and say this is halfway. I pick maybe 3,0, or I can pick 1,2, which is somewhere here. Or so I'm going to pick this one because it's easier to deal with the case where there is 0, because you simplify it quickly. So now what I'm going to do is, in this equation I'm going to put a box. Use a black color so that you see that now. So we are going to put a box here, then 2x. So we've picked 3,0. Remember, this is, you can pick any point, but it has to be to down of this dotted line. Any point, you'll still get the same, because we're just trying to get the sign. So what is y? Y is 0. Then what is x is 2. 2 times x, this is 6. So whatever there is x here, we put a 3. So we're going to have 6. So which sign is correct in this case? So we know that 0 is less than 6. So now what it means is, on this side I'm going to put this for this to be true. So we just need to pick one point for testing. So now I have an inequality, which is y is less than 2x. Now why is it strictly less than 2x? Because this is a dotted line. If it was a solid line, we are going to include the equal part. So take note of that, the difference between this one and the previous one. So we have y is strictly less than 2x. So this is how you answer this question to get the 5 marks. So join me in the next episode as we look at question 22 extensively.